Two kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never before seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Was poppin'. Welcome to Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And it's the YouTube livey.
Time of the week.
I was really about to say, like, it's episode. I really was about to do that.
Right into it.
Yeah.
Right into it.
Wait, what's up with the audio? Sounds crazy. Hit the mic. Hit the go like that. Shout out to everybody who's here. Okay, that's weird. Whatever. Make it work.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. I'm okay with that. So, all the usual announcements. Episode 49 is now out.
Officially.
Okay.
Officially.
We're almost there. We're almost at the 50. So this one was really good. So don't skip this one. All right? Don't skip this one. It was really good. So, funny. You may be mad at me about this, but funny situation, right? Didn't even notice
I like the little warm up. Yeah, okay.
Right. So when we were recording, right, and I went through the Ja Rule situation, right, the video, I thought I bleeped out the curse, but just not that much, right? But I didn't bleep it out at all, I guess, in the one that I had played, right? And I thought I heard it, but then I looked at your face and it didn't react. So I was like, okay, so it's just me. Maybe it wasn't there, right? Cool.
No, I thought it was a warm up for episode 50. I'm like,
that's what I'm playing it off, right? That's what
I thought that was the little teaser, the little sample, the little hors d'oeuvres that come around.
If you could take this one, I promise you.
It was just one.
No, it was one. It was. I mean, it was one. Wasn't the greatest one. Like I'd rather the S word more than that one.
True.
But
that one was tough. Yeah.
It was like a welcome to the next two episodes.
Yeah, that was tough. No, you're right. Yeah, it went straight from Mom Dukes, but you know what I'm saying?
Right. But mom doesn't care. She loves me. She loves us. So but I really thought, so in my mind when it was playing, like I really thought I just in my mind was playing it, but I know there was a bleep because I remember taking it off. I remember lowering the volume on it. I was like, maybe I just didn't. So, and then somebody texts me like, Bianca, who does our transcriptions, she's like, did you mean to leave this? Did you mean to leave this? I was like, yeah, because, and I played it up. I was like, yeah, because next week you gonna hear a lot. You're gonna write a lot of these. It's like, yeah, but that's next week. I was like, I hit her up with the audio message, like, all right, you know what? Low key, it happened. I thought it happened. We're just gonna leave it there. It's there. Yeah. It's over. Yeah. Right?
Too much.
But I was looking for your face. Right? I was looking for your face.
No, I heard. You know what it is? I heard it in the pre-show, and I'm like, typically you never do that. So I'm like, if this one is just full fledged, I'm like, oh, that's got to be an intentional, like just drop. So I'm like, oh, I guess okay.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Sorry, folks.
Sorry.
Sorry, folks. Shout out to Izzy in the building. What up, Izzy?
What's up, Izzy? Listen, and DeMarcus, it's like great topic for tonight. I'm excited about this topic. I am.
Yeah.
I saw a topic. Yeah. So what people don't know, normally Moose gives me the topic and I blasted it out to the world. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. But before we get into this topic, right? So I was listening. I promise you, promo certain people too much on our podcast, but I don't care. So Rick Ross dropped a new book today, September 7th, for those who are watching the replay, whenever you watch this, right? And there was this bar that he said 2 bars, and I wrote it down. So you know it's serious when I wrote it down, right?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So it says, when it comes to Instagram, you're looking at beautiful pictures, but you're not getting the full picture.
Wait, first
Okay,
of all, you're not
Ricky.
going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Said that. And then the other one was success is the outcome of what you do when no one is. Hold on. Success is the outcome of what you do when no one is paying attention to you. I was like, I like that. I like that.
Working
Shout out
in
to
the
Isaiah
dark.
with the early super chat.
Working in the dark.
See you.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, Isaiah already said that he listened to the whole audiobook. I was like, yo, it came out today. He's like, it's only 3 hours. What?
Oh, okay. Good.
So I'm in chapter 2, clearly. I had to do stuff. But
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get
Told
it.
you.
Check it out. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I love it. I love it.
what
So
we
let me
talking
kinda
about
give
today?
you, I'm gonna give you kind of a pre-setup for how I even arrived at this topic. So, if you remember, before the pandemic, I was kind of like getting bored with my workouts and my fitness stuff. So I started taking some boxing classes, and we talked about it because you used to box. So that kind of got shut down when I moved, and then it just didn't work out. So I recently went to a new class on yesterday actually. So I was there, and what's unique about the fitness classes is that they put people together of different levels, right? You could be like a medium level expert and a high level expert, but you're in the same class together, right? So as I was working, and you know how I am, I'm just always like thinking about something related to content or something related to how we can share with the people, right? And I'm like, yo, not for nothing, it's very important that we understand the mindset part of competition, right? Because we always talk about Tuesday nights is we cover the person in personal brands, right? And I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, if I were to go head to head with someone who's not of my level and I beat them, then I'm almost using a false metric to measure how good I am or what I'm prepared for. So it's like, and it's funny, don't laugh, but the analogy that came to mind was, yo, it's like arm wrestling a toddler and considering yourself a winner. It's like, of course, if you arm wrestle a toddler, it's like, yeah, you're gonna swing the toddler's hand back and forth. But if that's what you're measuring to be, quote unquote, your competition, then you'll always fall short of your potential. So before, and this is kind of where I wanted to speak with you about, it's like before we even start thinking about other people, because I know immediately when we think competition, we think about other people. I wanted to talk about the competition, which is really who the first person of competition, the first person we should be competing with, in my opinion, is always ourselves. All right. And it's simply for that matter right there, that you can't even go out there before you have made like a principle or something that every single day you're looking to beat the person from the day before, right? So let's talk about that a little bit, Nix, if you don't mind, about just kind of your perspective on competition. I think one of the best things that you've shared through our show is when you said, I don't necessarily need to go outside to compete. I can compete from within, meaning even within a team. And it's a helpful competition because it makes everybody on the team want to level up. So what's your perspective, and kind of give your take? I'll share a little bit more as well, but what's your perspective when it comes to competition, right? Do you worry about the competition outside? Are you focused more on yourself first? What's that space? Because like I said, for me, it was, you're the first person, if you're going to beat the competition, the first person you need to compete with is yourself. ideally who you were yesterday?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, I was definitely on go mode. Like anybody who like touched anything near what we do, whether it was us, whatever, I was ready to go. Like, boom. And I had someone to like, yo, get all their moves. What are they doing? Report back, right? We going for them. Mm-hmm. And I really had to sit and be like, hey, yo, why are we doing that? Why you're spending too much energy on the other person when you're taking away energy from the actual execution of what you're supposed to do. So this time that you're doing all the research and not saying research is not needed, but when you're in super go mode, right? You lose focus, you lose balance on, let me check out what the competitors are doing and make sure I'm up on one, than just making sure you stay steady and true.
Yeah.
So after a while, I would say actually last year, this is not super long. Like last year I was like, and I think it's because when you see how consistency is so rare and everybody eventually falls off if they don't value that, like what are you competing with? Because 9 out of 10 times they may have a good run, they may be great at that season, but you are hitting the nail at the same spot every single time. And so they go really fast, really quick, boom, 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 and then they get tired. But I'm going every single time. We're going every single time. They're going to die out. So it's like you got to look at, what am I doing for myself? What is the new task? What is the new goal? And it's only just with you, right? And maybe with your team to kind of like motivate them and things like that. But really it's really with yourself on, what have you done today? What can you do 1% more better than, than you did yesterday? And that is just, what did you learn today? What did you like? Is everything cool as far as like health wise, mental wise, like even from that standpoint, because they're all connected some way, shape, or form. Like if you feel crappy with your health, you're not going to do good with work. Your relationships are bummy because you're tired and you want to go to sleep all the time, right? It's just makes no sense. Wouldn't you have time for people? So it really goes with, you have so much to focus with self and maybe your circle, that you really don't have time to be on super compete mode when it comes to the rest of the world. Now, funny thing, and it actually goes with this, like I put a post, what was it, yesterday? I think yesterday, on some no right or wrong answer. What's best? Being first or being the best? Right? What? And I got a whop of comments, and majority of the people said best. Right? There was one, let me see if I can get it real quick. There was one bar. Shout out to Lashana from Extreme Execution. She said it, and regardless if it's right or wrong, right? Because everybody has their own opinion. But I loved it because it's based off facts. She's like, first is not debatable. Best is an opinion. First is a fact.
I like that.
Now, everybody gave great arguments.
Yeah.
But when you make it that simple,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I'm like, so head down, competing with self, motivating the team, and that is it, because we're trying to create facts, not feelings.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Because I think early on, the reason why, like I said, there are three, right? And by three ways, I really felt like, in my opinion, I felt there were three people, right? But the first one I thought was yourself, because I think typically when that's always a part of the foundation, then you never risk yourself getting to a place where you're no longer being authentic to you, because you started to emulate or copy the style or the ways of somebody else, of who you consider the competition. And then also, if not careful, you could finally find yourself getting caught in that comparison trap. And we've talked about that as well, because that could be like a serious almost cancer, for a lot of people when they start thinking about, oh, but what are they doing? And how does that compare to me? And it's like, yo, competition and comparison can be very close, but one of them is very, very dangerous, right? Like when they seem similar, but in one, you're just kind of sitting there almost mesmerized by what the other person is doing, instead of actually tapping into your side and say, how can I be better? So that part I felt was really important. Another part of this, and I don't want to necessarily call it something completely different, but we got to remember that competition is good when we're competing against an equal. Like competition is not fair. And that's why I said, when your competition is lopsided, it's like arm wrestling a toddler and calling yourself a winner. Again, there's no resistance.
Yeah.
As an adult arm wrestling a toddler, there's no resistance coming from that side to make you feel like, wow, that was a good game. On the flip side of it, if it's the same thing when someone is super dominant and, the other team is not so great. Competition is best when two teams or two people are almost ranked head to head. They're like, man, I don't even know which way this thing could go. It could go left, it could go right, depending on how they're feeling, who got a better night's sleep. Like, you're looking for the super intangibles. So on the flip side of it, I'm like, man, you gotta compete with your equals, right? Because your equals help you to really stay in the race. Because like you said, Nix, now you start to see like, yo, what is the pace? What is the tempo? What is the standard of the industry that I'm in, so that I can kind of keep up the race? So the reason why I wanted to bring that up as another category of another way to beat your competition is to look to your equals, not from a comparison standpoint, strictly from a competition standpoint. Again, not getting mesmerized or getting caught in the lights of what they're doing, but more about, okay, how can I do something better? Now, it's interesting because I see some people, Maurice Shands, I see him in the chat talking about blue ocean strategy, and I'm listening to that book right now, right? Where he's like, the difference between blue ocean and red ocean is that red ocean is kind of like a bloodbath. That's when everyone is going almost to war with one another to create the competition.
Yeah.
Where you can just sledge off on the side of the road, if you will, and create your own marketplace and not have to compete. So this is where it begins to get a little interesting, Nix, because like I said, I know there are some people who are like, I remember Chris Daniels, rest in peace to him. When he was teaching us, he would say, don't worry about your competition. Like, don't look at your competition. Don't worry about your competition. But then there's another frame of thought, and we can even, quote CJ and even yourself with you got to look at your competition and see what they're not doing, because that's how you can create almost a unique advantage for yourself. So again, you're not comparing, but you're looking for the advantage. So what's that balance now? And I'm kind of thinking like, what's that balance? Because I want to look to see what you're doing, not to compare, but to get an idea of what the standard is, kind of like what's the tempo, what's the norm in this industry, and what people are responding to, because that is important. Yeah. Like, I do believe that Apple has some secret intel on what Samsung is doing when they were going back and forth with whose phone was better. They definitely were on the lookout for what they're doing, but they're not creating a phone similar to Samsung. They kept creating the iPhone.
Right.
So what in your opinion is the balance to say, okay, I'm going to look and I'm not going to look? Is there a balance of the two, or are you personally strict on one side? Like, locked right here, locked on this side?
So, actually, I want to go back to something you said, and then I'm going to answer that, right?
Okay.
So, it's funny because I had this conversation with Carl, like something similar, because we were talking about the Peloton, right? And I was like, yo, I don't even have the leaderboard up. I've swiped that away. I am just concentrating on going. And he's like, yo, that's so weird because you're so competitive. I would think that would help you, right? I was like, I'm not competing with the person who has 100 rides. That makes no sense. I'm going to die. Like, I am concentrating on living, not catching up to the person who's done this 100 times. This makes no sense. You want me to die? This is crazy. He died laughing. But I say that because that's how I kind of treat it now, as far as anybody above me, right? I think in the beginning, when you're starting out something new, you look at it real quick, what's out in the industry, what are they doing, boom, boom. But when you get your information, mute it, right? Like, of course, you have to have, like, I'm big on having like 3 to 4 competitors, like not 3 to 5 competitors, knowing like who they are, what they do, what platforms they on, what products and services they have, just so I can have an understanding of, okay, somebody's done this before. How do they do it? Okay, cool. Shut it down. Because you're not trying to copy it. So if you go back to it, you're going to pick up something else. And you go back to it, and you're going to pick up something else. And you're going to actually copy their exact blueprint instead of coming up with your own. So you just need the foundation. You don't need the whole structure. You don't need the walls and everything with the refrigerator already in it for you. You don't need all that. So in the beginning, I research. After that, I mute it out because I can't be so and I'm gullible, and I understand this about me. Like, I am a salesperson best friend. They could be like, this is why I can't go to no car dealership, anything with a really good salesperson. They're like, yo, this is brand new. Oh, is it? Okay, here is it. Like, they don't even say too much. Like, yo, this is the latest and greatest. Which one do you have? I have this one. So let me show you what it does. Oh, cool. That's why I always try to have you on the phone, because whatever they say, I'm like, this is great. This is amazing. You're like, so what about this, that, and the third? I'd be like, oh, true. That's better.
Good point.
I didn't even think about that. Mind you, had a whole game plan prior to, mapped out. This is what we're demanding. This is what we want. Yes. This is what we could give you. Okay. Yay. This is amazing. Look what they offered us. They offered us 2%. But with that 2%, let me show you what it has. We came with 0. You not happy about 2? Nicky, we can get like 20. But why did they tell us 20? Calm down. Like, I'm gullible. I understand that. So that's why I can't be influenced too much, because I'll be super ecstatic and go with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. We were, we just closed enrollment for Extreme Execution. And we're almost like redoing our entire process or the system that we want our coaches to now use. So we're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's roll out our own proof of concept and really put it to the water. Let me know if my mic is sounding better, by the way. I made a couple of adjustments here. I want to make sure it's good. But let me, okay. I was like, let's go with the proof of concept. And now we're really detailing, right, the decisions that we're making. Because what we're realizing is when you emulate a company or a brand, like for what you see on the outside, you're not with them day to day. You're
You're not with them behind the scenes to see what they said yes to and what they said no to. So you can copy something from what it looks like on the outside, never knowing the intention or the strategy behind where you're trying to direct it to. For everybody who's on here, I highly suggest, and I was like hooked on this thing last week. A documentary is on Amazon Prime. It's called Netflix versus the World. And I stayed like 3 nights. I split it up into like 3 days watching it. It's about the process of Netflix competing with Blockbuster specifically, but not as the giant that they are now. It talks about the early stage process, or like the early stage when they first got going. What did they do? What did they try? What type of response did they get? What adjustments they made, right? And as I started seeing that, I'm like, yo, I think that's the big disconnect for people who are not competing, but comparing. And for those who are so hooked on constantly looking to their left, like there's a picture, I think it's like of Michael Phelps, and there's like a quote that was tied to it where it said, and I think like you got one swimmer, he's locked in on his lane ahead of him, and then another swimmer is looking at the swimmer who's locked in. And it said, winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. Yeah. And it's like the one who's locked in, he's looking at his finish line. The other one is, caught off guard or not really paying attention. My point is though, with this whole Netflix and Blockbuster thing, the CEO, one of the founders of Netflix, he says Blockbuster started to emulate what we were doing. But what they didn't have was the data behind the moves that we were making. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you. But everybody's saying, I think we're good now. I think we're good.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. So he was saying like, the main thing is, and I'll kind of rewind a little bit just so that they can catch this. But he was saying, when you're caught in the comparison trap, you're emulating what your quote unquote competitors are doing. But more than anything, you don't understand the data or the intention behind why they did what they did.
Right.
So that's like a major difference when you think about, why can't even someone that you're trying to help, why is someone on the team or someone in my organization or someone in my company not having the same level of success that I'm having? Chances are they're too distant or not close enough to your day-to-day process. So the decisions that you're making day to day, they're just slipping right by you, or they're slipping right by your people and they're not taking notice of what's happening. So like, that's just something that I caught on to. I'm like, major opportunity for growth for anyone who's looking to make adjustments and just help people on their side. It's help these people see, or for you, like if you're a brand, I'm saying, don't just emulate what's happening if you can't get access to their data, because you have no idea why it's happening. On the flip side of it, if you're trying to help your equal, your team, or whomever, that's a different story. At that point, okay, I'm going to take you closer to my.
That's right. Oh, we back. Okay.
Oh,
it says we can resume.
That is caught up right where we left off.
Right. All right.
Let's go.
Let us know if you can see us, if we're good. That's so weird. Anyways, doesn't matter. We're here. So
first
weird.
time I've seen that one. Yeah, first time I've seen that one. Shout out to everyone who's still tuned in though. That's awesome.
Hey, let us know. Let me hit up. We got. Oh no, it says we still have 21 people. Hey. First off, we apologize. All right, we apologize for the tech issues. I don't know what happened. I really don't, because normally if it's Wi-Fi issues, he can't see me or I can't see him, or the audio's crazy. But y'all couldn't see us, so apologize. Let us know with some emojis and stuff like that. Isaiah says he's here, so we're good.
And hear you.
If Isaiah says, "Oh, wow, wait, what is happening? Why is this?" All right, here we go. Woo, I was like confused. All right, but anyways, all right. Let's try to go back to what we were talking about, because I'm confused.
Yeah. So first, let me say this. Just kind of a quick recap.
Okay. Because you were going so good.
Yeah. That documentary, man, I tell you, it just had me so geeked up. I mean, I've been blessed the last month or so. I've been coming across really great information that just has my wheels spinning in a completely different direction. And I'm kind of seeing business in a new way. So I will say, for those of you still listening and tuned in, or those who are catching the replay, go check out that documentary. You won't regret it. All right. Netflix versus the world on Amazon Prime. Phenomenal documentary. But I'll give you kind of the short version of it, just simply that when Blockbuster was trying to copy exactly what Netflix was doing, they weren't getting the same traction. That's why I was saying, be mindful of the difference between competition and comparison. Figure out what the industry standard is. But when you copy exactly what they're doing, the reason why they weren't getting the same results is because they didn't have access to the data. So the founder of Netflix, one of the founders came on and he was like, yo, we started to see exactly what they were doing. But what they didn't know we had was similar to what Amazon has today at a really high level. They can show different titles to you higher up in the charts because maybe their inventory is low on the other ones. So they know the amount of people that are going to continue to keep scrolling through is going to be a lot less, when they just come across whatever's up first. And it's the same thing we know about Google and everything. Like, everyone's fighting for that top spot. So those were the things that they were doing to put them really ahead, not just what Blockbuster saw. And of course, as Isaiah mentioned, RIP to Blockbuster, they're no longer around. So I won't spoil the end of the documentary for you all, because at the end, you start, like, when you figure out why they lost, you might even start thinking of saying something different than RIP, because when I got to the end of that, I was like, wow, I was not expecting that to be the reason they lost. So I don't want to give it away because I want y'all to check it out and kind of take lessons for yourselves. But my point is, at the end of the day, when it comes to competition and comparison, especially with your equals, don't copy, because if you don't have access to the information, you're falling short. So yeah, I don't know if you got anything to add there, Nix, but that's definitely something that I'm just kind of like learning new. And I'm like, okay, I knew we said don't copy, but it's because we looked at it through almost like the spiritual comparison is the thief of joy type of thing. Just focus and be faithful over what you got. But from a business side, that made more like logical sense. Like, yo, don't copy because you don't know the data and you don't know what decisions they're making on the back end. That's more important than, what we see out front.
That becomes factual,
Absolutely.
like when you don't have that information, but you think, and it's funny because somebody mentioned him 500, and I was on that live that he was talking about, y'all need to understand the business model. Like, y'all copying the videos, you're copying the marketing part, and you're saying verbatim what I say, but you don't understand the systems and the data that I have.
That's it.
You need to copy that. You don't need to copy what I'm doing on my videos. That's purely attention. When you have their attention, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
You need to understand the business model. You need to understand the systems. So, and I was like, yeah, that made way more sense than I thought it was going to. I was like, oh, yeah, all right, you got that. He was in his bag yesterday. I ain't mad at it. But I wanted to. We did say we would answers Maury's build a team thing, and she came back.
Oh wow, that's right.
She did come back. Man, that was the first thing she asked. Was let me see if I can get. She was like, build a team.
I love it.
Oh, where is it? Here we go. Look, boom. How to build a team? You know what I mean?
Shout out to you, Maury. Go for it. That's what's up.
I ain't mad at it. So, before we get into that big question, because that's kind of a big question, Izzy did ask a simple question before we go into it. But Maury, we see you. She asked, where can I find it? I just saw it. just saw it. Here we go. Boom. Who do y'all listen / follow for guidance? Go ahead, Moose.
Man, it really is a seasonal thing for me. I think I find myself like in different seasons listening to different people or looking for certain pieces of information, depending on what I need. Right. So like some of my go-tos that never really change almost on a daily. One of them is Miles Monroe.
Okay.
He's like a very, I don't want to say old school, but because he's not old school. He unfortunately passed away in 2014, but he's a very linear teacher. Like he's super linear. So if you're somebody who could follow along something very linear, that's one of my favorite people because he uses principles and laws. So that's a major thing for me. Of course, I like to stay in tune with S2S on the podcast just because I actually find it very funny how they teach. Like they're not in the, like the traditional way of teaching. They use a lot of jokes, a lot of stories, but they still get the point across. So I think that's pretty cool. And then as of late, one of my go-tos has been Seth Godin, big marketer. Again, another very linear teacher, but it's great to see these because I'm seeing that, yes, you want to be entertaining, but some of these, what you would consider boring people are phenomenal teachers and they really have the game. So, I think between those three people, I've been kind of tuned into them, at least in this season. I'm like, okay, really paying attention to what they're saying.
I like it.
What you got?
I'm going to go in this season. I'll go with this season because I was going to get deep because you didn't get deep. Normally you go with the religious part in the first part. I was like, wait, you didn't go with you didn't go with God? What happened? I was expecting it.
Yeah.
But for me, I would have to go with in this season, Jonah Berger, who is the writer of Contagious. I'll go with that. Clearly in this season, Rick Ross. Clearly. I'm always going to go with E and Inky. That's always my go-tos.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with, funny as it sounds, Drink Champs.
Hey,
they have really amazing perspectives, like how they pull out stories from people. It's interesting when there's certain influence in people's bodies, what stories really comes out and things that we didn't know about business, the industry, how that all comes out. I honestly enjoy and learn a lot from Drink Champs. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I caught a couple of their episodes. Well, not full episodes, but the Nas one. I definitely tuned into that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, they have really good ones. They have really good. But okay. How you wanna go with this team one? Shout out to Blind Guy, his wife, and their life. Say that 9 times. I mean, and shout out to everybody who is hitting us up with the super chat. This is how our channel continues to grow, is because of the super chat. So we appreciate each and every single one of y'all who leaves us a little sticker, a little tip, however you feel like it. We appreciate it. So
absolutely. Thank you as always. So I actually have a few points here that I wrote out. If you remember, someone had requested that we create a course on how to build teams.
Yes,
remember that?
I remember. I do. Don't get me started.
So I brought up the outline.
Okay.
In the part of the
outline
text,
you handed in.
Yeah. I was like, I remember that. I kind of came up with a little secret formula for it.
Yes.
So I'll give you my 3 points, and then we can, chat through it the rest of the way. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think when it comes to team building, the first one is self-evaluation, right? Because you got to know what you have and what you're missing. The second part is reviewing values, core values, and of course, making sure there's alignment there. And then the last one, just as critical, but I think this is like for a team to actually function, is role awareness, right? Knowing the roles and the responsibility of each part. That includes compensation. That includes, of course, the responsibility of what's to be fulfilled within each part of the team. So those are kind of my three. And again, we could break that in depth a little bit, but I'll let you kind of go for it. I don't know if you have anything to add, maybe anything you want to speak to it. But again, self-evaluation.
Let's talk about those. Those are
so
good.
First one is self-evaluation. So I put review personal talents and limitations, defeating ego, defensive responses, and then identifying and appreciating the missing link.
What do you mean by that last one?
So if you think about it, like a lot of reason why teams don't come together, it's because they're happy with the people that they currently have, who typically, or in most cases, if they're building, they want to get people who can do it their way.
Okay.
And typically who you need is not someone who thinks like you. It's actually almost your polar opposite. And that's why I say, with the exception of values, but almost your polar opposite. Now, I can recruit that person, I can collaborate with that person, but not actually appreciate or value what they bring to the table.
Okay.
So they're in my vicinity, but because I'm not necessarily too attached to them, we never fully form a team. So E always makes examples of, like, I've technically been tied to the brand for nearly a decade, but it wasn't until after about 7 or 8 years until they saw the need, right, or value for my contributions to the brand. It was like, oh, you know what? That's major. Let's put you in a partnership role. You know, like that. I think that's what I speak to there. It's like, when you don't identify and appreciate the missing link, then you can have the right people in your vicinity and still look elsewhere because you don't feel like they can get it done.
No, so, and it's funny because you may confuse like the values with the roles, right? Like, I want you to match my values, but I also want you to match my work ethic and how I do things, and like how I would handle or not handle these particular things. And if you don't, you're wild. Like, why are you here? Right. How did I attract you? Right. And I think as we appreciated the flight assessment, right, we kind of start opening our eyes to appreciating different characteristics that we don't have, that honestly makes a full team, like complete a full task, complete a full project. I know when with ETA, things can't really start unless there is somebody in each box. Like, where's the pilot? Where's the flight attendant? This, that, and the third, right? Which is dope. So understanding who each one is in your team and appreciating what they have, right? And not being too lopsided on one side or the other, right? Because when it's that way, nothing's going to go. Whether it is you're doing things over and over again, or you're just thinking it out for a very long time and not doing it, right? So lopsided is trash too. But we just, even if you didn't have the tool, even if it's just you trying to understand the person, really sitting down and being like, what is, I almost hate saying this now because I say this way too much, but what is the gap that I really need fulfilled? Not the goal of the project, right? Because then you're instantly going to want somebody like you. But what am I missing? Like, what can I get off my plate? I care less about. Like I know it's important. I'll do it if I have to. But who could really do that? Maybe, and being okay with it not being done like I do it.
That's big. That's big. And that's why my exact verbiage is appreciating their differences in a sense. All right, because they're going to do it differently than you. They see the world differently than you, and they think differently than you. So just to get to a point where you can appreciate that, I think that's half the battle. Now, there are other sides, and I don't think that you'll really uncover those until you actually bring those people in your space and you start like working and building with them season to season.
Yeah.
All right. So there are some relationships that are rock solid in one season and can be down in the dumps the following season because they're still premature. Like they haven't really worked through the kinks, so they haven't really gotten fully in tune with each other's personalities. So they're good for a season, but once you get bored, tired, or just overwhelmed with that person's particular approach, you kind of dumb it down and fall off. So there's some things that will just uncover themselves through time. But I think the approach, because I see Maury and the comment that you just put up, I'll pause for a second because this reserves a little.
Trucking from scratch. We see you, David. Appreciate you. And see you at 120. Yeah, me? See you at 120. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, but the other part of it is once you get clear on what you need, you have to be out there almost like a recruiter.
Yeah.
Looking for that person.
Yeah.
Right. And again, depending on your spiritual beliefs or just how you think about attracting things that you desire in your life, you can take that method, but super critical that you start letting people know, here's what I'm looking for. So I think even recently for me, I've always joked around and said, hey, I'm digitally disabled. Like when it comes to design and certain parts of tech, like I can function around the basics, but when it comes to the high end stuff that, I know is super important, like a website or a landing page or EPK or social media and certain videos and this and that, I'm like, you know what? I know that the reason why I stopped 10 or 11 months ago, it's because I had just absolutely exhausted myself working in an area that I'm not talented in. I had redone my own website. I was editing and cutting up my own videos. I was trying to do my own post and my own design and my own this. And I'm like, dude, you're just not good at it. So I had absolutely exhausted myself after quote unquote being consistent. I don't know, call it for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but just absolutely exhausting myself. This time around, I started vocalizing what I need. Once I identified exactly what I needed, Nix, I was like, oh, I'm going to vocalize. Hey, Words. Hey, Charles. Hey, Nick. Hey, Nicky. Hey, Carl. And I just started telling people, I know exactly what I need. I need a web designer, right? I need someone who can help manage my social media. I want someone to start helping me kind of get a strategy together for just what I'm going to do and roll out online. I want a nice little method to it. So when I start, I don't stop. I got some ideas. But through that approach, I've already found 2 people. Like I'm only really missing just one person, that social media manager. And in a way, Maury, I hope you're taking notes because in a way, this is me putting it out there. Like me saying, once you identify what you need, making a point to go out and literally scream it out to the world. Hey, here's what I got going on. Here's what I'm looking for. If this is in your talent pool, how can we work together? Do we need to barter services? Is it a straight flat out payment? Is there something that we can do maybe together? Is it a percentage of profit sometime down the line once your part kind of starts to roll over and execute? Like there are a lot of ways. So yeah, Nix, I think that final piece of it, because like for some of the parts that I've mentioned in the equation, you're not really going to get to work through until you actually have people in your space. So in theory, they sound real good. But that missing link is getting out there and telling people, hey, I need a social media manager. Hey, I need someone who can help me with the content strategy. Hey, I need someone to help me do this. I need someone to help me on the sales side. I need someone to help me with my systems, right? So once you identify what it is with that after evaluation, you got to get out there and start knocking some doors, shaking some hands, and really making it known, because you just never know who might even have that skill set or that talent and hasn't spoken about it. Maybe they're not confident. They were looking for an opportunity or something to pop up, and they weren't actively looking, but they're like, oh, shoot, this is a non-invasive way to put myself out there or volunteer my skill set without having to, go through the traditional ways of making it happen. So that's a piece, Nick, that I think, as many people talk about building a team or finding a team or whatever, they never talk about the actual recruiting part, which is to go out there and have some of these conversations. Hey, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'd like to do. And here's what I'm looking for. So that part, so critical. Not fun for many, especially if you're an introvert. And those are the ones who typically have difficulty finding a team or building a team. So it's not usually the easiest to get out there and get uncomfortable and meet a lot of new people. But I think that's super important.
Fair.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that last one before we go? The role awareness.
What's that?
The role awareness.
Oh yeah.
That's a really big one. And I think for me, it's not about a title, right? But just tell me what I'm going to do.
Yes.
Right? And I'm going to speak about myself, because I can't get in trouble when I talk about myself, right? And Moose knows, in like the very beginning of ETA, I had no clue what I was doing. Not necessarily meaning I wasn't doing anything. I was doing everything, and doing everything great. Don't get it twisted, right? But doing everything didn't tell me what I was doing, if that made any sense, right? When you are brand new into a company and you're just used to just finding the gaps and doing everything, and now you become the reliable one. Now you become the go-to for everything. You're like, but yo, what is my real true purpose here? Because it can't be everything. Like, I can't be 15 people. It doesn't make sense, right? And granted, in, past couple of years, that has calmed down to a sense, right? To a sense. But it took for me to actually find my role outside of the company to understand what my role is inside the company.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So where I was seeking guidance and tell me what exactly it is, they said, what was it? Business development strategist. What in the world is that? No offense to the person who gave me that title. Cool. But I don't even know what that is, right? Do you know what that is? No. Right? Because what Google, shout out to Google, what Google said and what I was doing, two different things. What are you talking about? So I am now even more confused, right? So I had to be like, you know what? Pause this. Like, I'm going to continue to do what I do, but I have to find me. And if you don't ever tell me what my true role is, that's okay. Because I know what my role is in life, in here. Right. What I'm supposed to do as far as serving the people. Cool. Which, when I identified that, then it started to be like, hey, yo, Nicky, can you talk about this? Can you do this? Can you train on this? Can you, like, break down what you do with these things? Like, because I wasn't seeking their validation on what my role was. Now, granted, I'm not saying that's going to be the situation for everybody. I'm just speaking about me. And if for those who may struggle with their role awareness in the current situation that they have, whether it's a 9-to-5, entrepreneurship, relationship, whatever, like, you have to figure that out for yourself on what you want to do and what you're trying to do. And it should match with what you're doing currently. It should. Now, shout out to those people who are like amazing at like shooting video, but they want to be painters all of a sudden. I don't ever want to touch a camera. I just want to paint. That's all I want to do. What? Wow. What are you talking about? My love and my skills are in painting. I just had to pick up a camera. Okay, praise God. Do what you do, right?
Oh boy.
Do what you do. I'm fine with that. But but when you have a team, like, you have to be very clear with what they do. Like, as far as like my team, like, Nick handles graphics. Go. Boom. If Isaiah wants to touch it a little bit, he can, but bring it to Nick. Don't even worry about that, right? That's your thing. Also, you are the creative, visual person of what Nicky and Moose should look like. That is your job. That's what your role is. I cannot trust anybody on how this looks besides you. Okay? So whatever creative title you want to call that, you go do that. Yeah. Cool. Isaiah, you are everything video, picture kind of vibe. That's you, right? However you want to title that. But any type of content that truly comes out of Nicky and Moose from a consistent basis, that is your vibe. That's you. I don't want you to do anything else. I don't want you to go left, right, over here, now try to find sponsorships, try to do this. No. Your job is anything visual as far as it having motion. That is you. Love you to death. That's it. Okay? Now, we're figuring out what Kirk is doing. Ashley is the supreme project manager. She is killing the game with that, you know.
So dope.
So when people know their roles, they go in on it. Like Isaiah did this this clip when we did Ja Rule and what was it? Ja Rule and Fat Joe, right? And he did like a snippet in the beginning, then he put the logo opener, and then it was the rest of the joint of like 12 minutes long. I was like, I saw what you're doing. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to do something different. But if I had him in a spot where he didn't know what his role was, he wouldn't have time to do something different and improve on what really needs to be improved. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. No, it's tough. It's tough. And that's why I've kind of like experienced, like, yeah, you need to know if you're building a team, leading a team, you need to figure out where those roles overlap. When does it come to close to start passing it over? All of those things matter. But I do see Maury, she said that she's starting her own business. So Maury, I hope that every week, every 2 weeks, you could just tap in with us on Tuesday and kind of letting us know, you know, how that journey is going for you. You know, what you've done so far. You know, maybe we can continue to contribute to your success just by kind of, you know, answering your questions and giving you some insight. So yeah, tap in with us on Tuesdays and let us know what's happening. That'll be really cool.
Facts. Anyways, it's 9:02. We're only 2 minutes over with some tech difficulties and all that great stuff. Let me shout out some people. Shout out to Izzy, Isaiah, DeMarcus. I saw Mario's in the building, and I just bought his like brand sponsorship course thing. So I'm excited about that. Yes, he had a deal. Wow. Sorry for those who didn't have his Labor Day deal, but I bought his deal And I'm very excited. He was like, yo, I was in the clubhouse room with him. And he was like, write out, like, don't just come into it saying I want sponsorships. Like, write out the people that you want sponsorships with. Like, what products do you use right now? Because your audience is going to trust you with what they've seen you use. I said, when he said that, I was writing it. I send him a pic, like, boom, here you go. He's like, oh.
That's dope.
Okay. All right.
That's
and
dope.
he was one of those people like, hey, everybody on the stage, y'all know, just DM me. I got you. I was like, no, sir. Swipe the card. Here you go. And doing the action because I'm not playing with your time because I don't want my time to be played.
Right. No,
So,
it's true. It's true.
Shout out to Mario and his course and all that great stuff. Small plug, just because I bought it. You know what I mean? If I bought it, I'm gonna do it. But go listen to the podcast, okay? Go listen to the podcast. All Access Squad drops tomorrow, 8 o'clock. And the full video drops 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? I'm really, I don't know if I told you this, but people listen to our podcast through audio more than video. They like the little clips, right? But they listen to the audio more than the video. So shout out to y'all, all the listeners. And definitely tag us and leave a review. Our podcast is living because of reviews, okay? We really need those reviews. So listen to today's podcast or whenever you listen to this and leave a review. I don't care if you've done it before. Each week is a new week, so we're going to need all those reviews. So if you're going to leave a review, please type in one. You know what I mean? Just type in one. Okay, let's just make that small commitment. Just type in one that you're going to leave a review. I got you, Nicky. I got you, Moose. We appreciate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dudes that solid. Dudes that solid.
Light work. Moose, thank you for the conversation. That was really good. Even the impromptu taking out the old outline from this magical course that you were supposed to create one day. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I was like, I got these answers. I'm going to go back here.
Yeah, you just happen to have it right away. I just... You're just like, wait, hold on. Boop. I just happen to have this outline. Look, they're saying, what's Moose IG handle? Somebody hit me. Moose, say your handle.
Oh, it's actually my first name _ last name. So Mostafa, and then my last name, Ghonim.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
And shout out to those who press 1. We see y'all and we appreciate you so much. We are out of here. Go listen to the podcast. Same time, same place. Next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. 5 p.m. West Coast time. You know what I mean? 5 p.m. We'll see you then. You already know what we're going to say.
We'll be there.